for podcasters, how to get discovered and heard so that when people hear you, they can do this. Yes, yes. You are now tuned in to the Marketing Club House, where we talk about all things marketing, digital, traditional, and otherwise. My name is Favor Bass Ike, and I'm excited to bring to you another SEO 4 series. I like that. SEO 4 series. You know what? I'm going to actually coin that because as you're listening to this, it's more like documentation in a way. So it's an SEO 4 series because we've been doing SEO for brands. Welcome, Jess. We've been doing SEO for local businesses, and we've also done SEO for podcasters. So, this is one of those rooms that you are going to learn a few things that are going to help your business really take the next level, like really put you in a position where you feel like, okay, it's really time to go. It's really time to make this happen. So I'm going to help you learn the ropes and understand the ropes on how SEO works for podcasters, why it's important to even have a podcast in the first place, and that's something that you'll be able to understand in today's room. So thank you for joining and thank you for being here. Feel free to invite your friends, let people in, and let people connect with us as we talk about something that's very important for you guys today to hear. And as you're listening, I also hope that you're gaining knowledge. You're not just listening, but you're applying it, because I want you to listen, but I also don't want you to just hear this, take notes, and go. I want you to hear this, take notes, and then go do something about it that will actually help your business thrive. Because you can be here listening all day. We're doing it. We can do it for you, but can you do it? And if you want to do it, how can you get that done? So this is going to be that room for you to, listen, learn, enjoy, and definitely get some grow. So yeah, I'm excited that we're doing this at this time today. Good morning, David. Buenos dias. How are you?
Buenos dias, my friend. On top of the class, I'm excited to be here and learn everything you have to say about podcasting and SEO for podcasting. I'm excited. Thank you for opening up this room, and thank you for allowing us to be here. Back to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. I'm really excited about this room because I think the way we should be thinking about podcasting for 2024, 2025 is one of those great things that we should be looking out for, as we're growing, as we're building, as we're understanding concepts, as we're learning how things work. This is a time to really plan and ask yourself, okay, are we doing podcasts for people, or are we doing it for ourselves? That's a very big question. So I'd love for people to hear from you too, David. Tell them about your podcast and what it's all about.
Yeah. So my podcast is about. My podcast is called the Circle Formula, and it's about um, marketing as far as commercial photography, Airbnb photography. I am a Airbnb photographer. I've been a photographer for many, many years. And that's what my podcast consists of. I bring different speakers. I've been bringing, it just started not too long ago, but we are bringing different speakers such as interior designers, Airbnb managers, and just different people that can talk about marketing. So it's been an exciting journey. It's been short but very exciting, and we hope to continue building more podcasts here in the near future. So, like I said, I'm excited to learn more here. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That's beautiful. I think what I'm excited about even for your show is listening to interior designers' concepts, because you don't get to talk to interior designers every day. You don't get to talk to Airbnb hosts every day, or people who are working in those commercial spaces. So listening to them for even 30 minutes, 15 minutes is priceless, because just listening to them could even change how you look at your home, or you look at how you build stuff around your space, you know?
Yes. So the way I'm seeing this favor is that the and it's like a learning process. It's like a win-win for everyone. As I may be niched down to certain things, but I'm also picking up everything else that comes with it, if sometimes in an indirect way. I'm focused more in photography and all this, and to learn about interior designers or other services that are around Airbnb. I think it just makes me even more knowledgeable, and there's more information I could share back to the community or for people that are listening. So it's an exciting thing. Yeah, interior designers. I just had an interview with a good friend of mine, Gina. She's here from San Antonio. She's an amazing, amazing um, Airbnb and commercial interior designer, and she had a lot of information on our show, and it was great, Favor, and it was also something that I was able to pick up a lot of key elements or key things that I now look out for as a photographer. So it was amazing.
That's beautiful. I'm excited to see those episodes, hear them, learn from them, because I love interior design. Just, to design things, see, okay, where can you place this, do that. That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. Please put the link in the chat too, so people can connect with you as well. And I see you, Ty. I see as well, Dr. Sharon. Welcome to the room. Glad to have you here. Minnie also walked in. Thanks for being here, Jess. Sakumzi, I hope I said correctly. Vicky, Doing, Emmanuel, Sheft, and GS Shahin also welcome, just stepped into the room. Thank you for joining. You are listening to the Marketing Clubhouse room, and we are discussing SEO for podcasters, how to get discovered and heard. The reason why I'm doing an SEO 4 series is because I have, all through the month of August, I've been looking at how do I help more people at a larger scale without having it to be a one-on-one direct impact. It could be an impact without the direct impact. So, and that included too, but holistically, it's trying to make sure that other people can understand how to do it themselves without having us to be on a call for me to answer that question. So that's why I'm doing rooms like this, because I can answer those questions now, because most people want to know, how does SEO work for podcasters? Some people don't even know how to get on Apple, like these Apple podcasts specifically. So these are things that I don't want to skip over or just assume that everyone knows how to do these things. So I want to start from the grassroots, build it up so that you can learn how to build your business and use podcasts as a way to channel your success from your community. Whether you want to do it locally, nationally, globally, it's possible. Podcasting is still very fresh. It's not really old. I mean, you can't really say it's old, but it's it's something that you can start now and still gain a lot of traffic, because this, when Steve Jobs called it podcast, because podcast is iPod plus broadcast, right? So from 2005, next year is going to be 20 years, right? And podcasting is just taking off. Like, I think it took off really heavily in 2020. When you look at listennotes.com/stats, you'll see that. And speaking of listen notes, I got featured on listen notes. I have an article. Let me put it in the, yes, thank you for putting that link in the chat, David. Yes, please click that link as well to connect with David as well. Really great stuff in there as well. So, and let me put this link so you can see listen notes interview article. Just want to put it for you guys so you can see it. And you also have the link in the description too. There we go. So I put that link in the chat so you can read it. Those are 8 questions that Listen Notes asked me, and I answered some really, I gave a lot of insights there. So if you read that article and actually read through the text, you'll find some nuggets. I didn't just say, hey, this is a podcast, and just basic answers. I actually gave some actual information in there that if you read through, you can find some really cool gems that can begin. When I look at even me reading back at what I was writing, by this time last year, our podcast was top 10% globally. Yeah, it was top 10% globally. And I was like, top 10, that's dope. I was like, okay, this is a top 10. I didn't even know there was a top anything. Not because I was looking for a top something, I was just doing it out of the love for the people, right? Podcasting for me has never been to monetize. I've never thought of podcasting as, oh, I'm going to start a podcast so I can make money. No, this thing started off pure passion for the people, pure passion for the people. That's how I got on Clubhouse, because I wanted to extend my podcast from just me talking on the microphone to actually talking here live with you. And then we can actually have a conversation. So that's how it started for me. So if it wasn't for podcasts, I would not be on Clubhouse. If I'm not on Clubhouse, I would have met amazing people like you, like David, like Ty, like Dr. Sharon. I've met her in person, amazing to see you, Minnie, get connecting with you too here on Clubhouse. Nikki's here too. I've seen you a couple of times, you know, doing, amazing people like GS. Welcome to the club. No Cops has been here a couple of times. So, I keep seeing a lot of people here, and some people come in regular, some people we've never met, we've never talked. So I can't really say much, but the ones I know, the ones I talk to on a weekly basis that I've met in person, yeah, we friends, we good, and it's really, really good to, connect here. So that's why I want you to see how I've done it so that you can also think of it the same way. Don't think about podcasting as a means to create a business. Start a business before you start a podcast. That's what I'm trying to say, because a podcast is going to help your business and not the other way around, right? So you have to make sure that your business is standing firm. So when you do have a podcast, you have something to work with. So I'll go into those details into today. Thank you for being here, Dr. Sharon. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, Favor. I'm doing well. I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, so I don't know, I just got the notification for this room, so that's how come I ended up popping in and see what you're talking about. Yeah. So as someone who, as you know, is working on my own personal podcast, I know SEO is important because even just from a business person, I've done I use SEO services previously for other businesses. I know SEO is important because especially since there's tons of podcasts out there, how do you get discovered if, among the sea of podcasters? So yeah.
And I love that. How have you found podcasting so far? Like, just through your journey, what do you truly feel like when you get on the microphone, when you see it out there, when people respond back to you?
So actually I've only had two episodes, and I'm actually getting ready to schedule or record two more episodes shortly, relatively shortly. But I like it. I use Riverside, so I have both audio and video. And that, the video portion of it really does help me. And it can also help you connect to your audience because then you can always use the video clips for, let's say, your social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and such. That will help drive traffic to your podcast. But the journey itself it's been good. Like I have everything set up. I have everything ready to go. Another thing that I've actually just and I'm doing is I'm gonna be using Acuity for scheduling, and I discovered that because I was actually recently on a on a podcast as a guest, and they used Acuity for scheduling, and they had all the questions built into it. So that's where I am now, building my questions into that to help guide the conversation during the podcast. So then that will help me in terms of sending less emails back and forth, because I had these like questions like on a PDF file where I actually upload it to an email, send it, blah blah blah. So with Acuity, I'll just set my schedule. These are the days I can record a podcast, go on schedule, do the questionnaire, and let's go. So I'm ready to rock and roll.
That's so exciting. I'm happy to hear that. Okay. Okay. The podcast scene is so, it can be so exciting and at the same time so scary. You know, it's like a whole new journey. You're like, where's gonna happen? Like, who's gonna listen? Are people even gonna? Is this mic on? Like, that's how it feels like in the beginning. But the more you're able to just do it naturally, it feels more comfortable. It feels like people actually want to listen to you because they're learning from you. They're hearing your stories. You're giving them gems. You're giving them insights. You're able to connect with them. Welcome, Regina and Derek. Good morning. Welcome to the room. I see you guys as well. You know, you're building and you're building with accuracy. You're building with a target. Now, for me, when I started podcasting, early August, let's say mid August, because that was August 12th, 2019. It took me a year before that 2019 to start it. So let's say 2018. But even way before that, if I take it back, it was 2011 that I first thought about podcasting. It was called what, internet radio, something like that. And I was like, okay, this is different. Okay, I want to try this out. But at that time, I was doing music, so I was like, I'm not going to do internet radio. I don't know what that is yet. But I was working at radio stations because I have worked at a radio station in Nigeria too. There are four top radio stations: Beat FM, Classic FM, Lagos Talks FM, and Niger FM. Those are all housed inside one building, but they have four different stations, four different frequencies. So I worked at four different radio stations in one house on one building under one parent company and did that for a year as I was doing my paramilitary service in Nigeria. So I was serving the country for a year doing community service. At the same time, I was, the president of my government, my local government, serving like over 300 people. And I was telling a friend yesterday, this is a story that coming back to this is because when I was leaving the country, I was now like thinking, when you have your president of a community, you have to pass it on to somebody else. So I was like, it would be nice for a girl to be a president, in this community, because it was a guy who passed it on to me because he was like, I didn't want to even be that. I just wanted to sit in the corner at the back. But he said, yo, you should lead. And I was like, I didn't want to. So from then on, that was 2016, 2015, 2016. And that was the same time I was at radio station. So I was both serving the community and at the same time serving within the business. So I was kind of doing two jobs at the same time. And that was Monday through Friday for a whole year. And then in between that, I was like, I love radio. I love how people just show up. Like I remember when Davido just walked into the into the he did that twice when he came into the studio to launch two new songs. This was like way back 2015. Jidena came as well. Kerry Hilson came. Just all these artists that we hear, and it's like a radio station. Like this is where they go. Like when you see them on the radio station, they have to be at the radio station. So I was at these radio stations just watching them walk in, walk out. I'm like, this is normal. This is not normal. So you start seeing different things. Hey, Heather, you start seeing different things and you're like, this is cool. This is how you connect with people. At that time, it was just radio. Right. So for me, I was fascinated. I'm like, this is the internet radio I've been thinking about since 2011. Fast forward 2015, 2016, I'm at a radio station. Then fast forward 2018, 2019, I'm starting a podcast. So, and then 2020, I'm on Clubhouse. So when I think about the journey, I'm like, yeah, it's something that you want to start doing because you want to get discovered, you want to get heard. Like Dr. Shine is saying, there are millions of podcasts out there. How do you get discovered? Like how do you even show up on the list? Like, how do you even start that? That question is already like, it's already like out of this world that the thought is already stressful for you to even begin. And that's where most people start and stop from. And when they stop at those points, you can't really get further than that because you have to think about the podcast, but also think about the activity. That's why it's always good to do the research for podcasting because people think, oh, we have podcasts out there, but they're not so many podcasts that are active, right? There are not so many podcasts out there that are active. If you go to podmatch.com/report, you will see all the reports for the whole 2024, including August 2024. And you will see, check the reports, see what's happening, what's the activity, what's the podcast digital health like, what is digital audio looking like, what is the market share saying, why is YouTube taking the lead with Spotify, when it comes to podcasting. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but if you look at your app store, right, and you go to YouTube Music, there's somewhere I'm going with this. If you go to YouTube Music on the app store, in the charts under the music category, YouTube Music is second and Spotify is first. Shazam is third, right? In the top charts on App Store in music category. Now, when you think about and the way it's going, if you think about digital audio, people use YouTube like about 2 billion searches a day, right? So if you're on YouTube, you're technically on Google if you have your accuracy with Google Search Console indexed, right? That's why I was talking about Google Search Console with SEO. A lot of podcasters don't have websites. That's the first problem. A lot of podcasters don't have websites because when you don't have a website and you're depending on third party platforms, second party platforms, and you don't have first party data that you can actually say, here, I have X number of subscribers, then we have to change the narrative, because if somebody subscribed to your show, it means that they left their information. When they subscribe on Apple or subscribe on YouTube or when they subscribe on Spotify, who gets that information? Not you. They do. So how do you get your market share and your first party data, which is very important for your business growth? So when you take podcasting as a business, you take it seriously so that when people are actually watching you, they're connecting with you online, they can actually see it. Because if you don't have a website as a podcast, first you have the name of your podcast. It has a logo, right? It has a description. It has a link. When you look at a podcast and you look at the name of your podcast, at the very bottom, go to Apple Podcasts, at the very bottom of your show, you're going to see a website link. If that link is not going to your website, you're losing out so much SEO, so much traffic, so much backlink opportunity, so much referral domain activity, so much that you would not even know that you're missing out on it because you didn't know. So if you're looking at podcasting for 2024, 2025, you need to have a website that is pointing to your podcast, so that when you show up with your website, if somebody's looking for something, they can find your podcast website on Google. They can find your YouTube thumbnail on YouTube and Google, right? They can find you on iHeart. They can find you on Pandora. They can find you on platforms that people use to listen to things. When people listen to podcasts, they listen to podcasts when they're getting ready for work or getting ready just to leave the house or just getting ready, period. When they're in the car, when they're driving, traffic stuck, or just having a long trip. If they learn this is a 45-minute podcast, okay, I have a 45-minute trip. I'm going to drive and I'll listen to the show, right? Or when they're working out, when they're taking a walk, when they're just having downtime. And it's actually true because we did some advertising campaigns for some clients and it's been really going so well for them. Come to find out, because we use longitudes and latitudes. That's how specific we get when it comes to podcasting. I've never said that before. We use longitudes and latitudes to identify how podcast listeners get discovered and heard. So we found out that there's people listen to podcasts by lakes and also by parks. So I was like, huh. Because I did that study. This was 2 weeks ago when we had a team meeting. And I was like, this is so cool because we're on CNN.com, we're on menshealth.com, we're on, thedictionary.com, we're on weather.com, and we're actually getting content because we also know people like to read, right? So if we're looking for avid readers, why not go to dictionary.com or go to Cambridge or go to Merriam-Webster? So we go to those sites that people frequent on a daily basis outside Google, that's still within the Google pack. So when people are connecting on the news and they're reading the news or searching what's this word of the day, and then your podcast shows up, boom, you have a 30-second clip, and then people click on it and it goes to your website. That's credit because that's allowing you to actually gain visibility. And then your podcast grows. Your podcast can get to hundreds of countries very easily. It's just that we don't know how it could happen, but it's possible. I've seen it happen over and over again. So you need to have a website. So when you're tracking data, when you have a Facebook pixel, when you're posting your social, when you have a podcast, you're posting your podcast on Apple. You're putting your podcast on Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok. You're putting it on these LinkedIn. You're putting it on Pinterest. You're putting these podcast snippets right on these social media platforms. When you tell people where to go after they listen to that audio or when they watch that video on social media, when you're telling them to go to your website and your website has a pixel and all pixels, right? A Facebook or a meta pixel, it needs to have a LinkedIn Insight tag, it needs to have a Pinterest tag, it needs to have a TikTok pixel, right? You need to have those pixels in place so when you're sending people back to your website, either through captions or auto-generated text or through linking or link building, those links and that what you're saying verbatim, even now with Apple Podcasts, when you say your podcast, literally we don't play podcast.com, it's transcribed to Apple Podcasts and the hyperlink is generated. It's auto-generated for you within the actual transcript on Apple Podcasts. So when you're speaking and saying these words, be very specific on how you advertise, even when you start having sponsorships. How do you position yourself? How do you bake in content? Because it's SEO for podcasts. It's not just talking. You have to know what you're saying and create those missions that allow you to connect the dots. So when you're creating those things, you know that people are listening to you in all these places. How do you do that? Do you have music, on your podcast as a background? Do you need it? Let's say you try 2 episodes. Part one has music, part two doesn't have music. Which one gets more downloads? Do the testing. Just play around with it. Not There are no rules, right? But you have to think outside the box to really see how that can work for you and know what's good for your audience. It took me a while to get there, and there's still more to learn. Even though I'm 5 years in with 400 episodes, I still have a lot to learn because I keep learning every day. We keep tweaking, so those are things that I think that's the fun in it, because it wouldn't be fun if I knew everything, because what's the fun in that? If you keep winning every time, what's the fun in it? Sometimes you have to lose to win, and when you fail forward, you're able to understand the things that you could do, the things you could do better. So that's how I look at things. So we'd love to hear from you as well. Heather, welcome to the room. I haven't seen you on Clubhouse in a while. How are you doing?
Hey, good. How you doing, Favor?
I'm good. How are you thinking about podcasting and all this stuff? Because I know we don't talk about podcasting much, but I'm sure you have an arm in it.
Oh, I have two podcasts. So, and I love the point about getting a website for your podcast because you were missing out on that SEO juice. Now, I don't have a specific website for my podcasts. I actually have a page on my own website that talks about the different podcasts that I have. And then I have its own individual page for each podcast. So, I'm directing the SEO traffic to my own business, which is Heather Cox Codes, and then utilizing my Into the Black podcast and dark mode to drive traffic to my website. If they look up Into the Black, you're going to get the Into the Black page on my website, Heather Cox Codes, because I want people to know that, yeah, that's my podcast. But the SEO portion of podcasting is so important. I don't understand. Like it's kind of like I've been seeing a lot of people post like videos and posts on Instagram and Facebook with like 5 hashtags, not even a caption, no copy whatsoever. Like don't do that. And then I see it starting to seep into like the podcasting world. Like you need copy for every single episode. You need to make sure that your episode is like has a call to action to like listen. You got to make sure that all of that information is across all like I manage mine on rss.com and I make sure that my title is optimized, my description is optimized, all my keywords in there are optimized, even uploading it to YouTube. Guys, there is so much information below that expanded search caret while you're uploading a video. If you click on that, it'll expand so much more. You can give it the type of captions if it's English or a different language. You can give it specific keywords. You can toggle if it was AI generated or not. You can show if it's good for kids. Like there's so much information, and that's what SEO is all about. For social media search engine optimization, for website optimization, for podcast search engine optimization, it is all about filling in the blanks with as much information as possible that is pertinent to the piece of content that you're putting out there. That's all it is. Fill in the blanks. If you see a field that is left blank, you are missing a key part of SEO on there because they're not just putting it on there for shits and giggles. They want you to actually put in that information because that is a piece of information that the computer, the algorithm, the whatever is going to be reading. That's how it works. So please fill in as much information. Don't leave that description blank. Don't put one sentence. Really expand upon it. Get your keywords in order. And make sure you do, if you don't have a full website, get yourself a page at least on your already existing website, because then that's better than just having the rss.com main page or your Spotify, playlist of your podcast. So just make sure you have a page at least somewhere on a website that you own. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Heather. You know, as you were speaking, you reminded me of something. We talked about this some time back because you're like, Favor, where's your website? And I was like, I have one. And now on the flip side, I'm like, hey, podcast, and you got two podcasts. So it's like, okay. So I like that we're tied now. And you know, as you were speaking, right, I was thinking like the whole idea of podcasting is so like it's so much to grab and think about because it's also new territory, so also people are getting into it, trying to figure it out as they go. But I think the whole idea of what I've realized with podcasting for SEO is two major things that will make or break your SEO for podcasting. Two major things: one, your keyword research, and two, your distribution networks. If you can get those two organically and you put paid advertising to that, you will always win because when people are going to be paying for ads, they're paying with search, they're paying with words, they're paying with keywords. So if your keywords are in your titles, in your alt text, in the file name of your photo, because I've talked about I did an episode on episode cover arts versus podcast cover arts. They're two different types. When you have an episode cover art, it's different from a podcast cover art. So when you use those two, especially for advertising, for brand deals, for partnerships, for visibility, it's different because you actually highlight the people. You know, it actually adds color. When you look at Apple Podcasts, if you don't put a new let's say you don't put a new cover art on your episode, you don't get the best result. I mean, it's all Apple, but that thumbnail, that open graph, that section that actually has the picture of your guest is really important because that's how people see. People scan, they don't read, they scan. So if they're scanning images, oh, I like that person, oh, I like that text, oh, I like that topic, then you're already getting into the keyword funneling. If you type in SEO on Apple Podcasts, you're going to see my podcast show on the top 100 list. It's there. I actually counted. I was like, I think I'm number 20 something on the list. And you see that because if someone's looking for SEO, who are they going to go to? They're going to go through a lot of podcast episodes, but they're going to look for things that are specific to their needs because SEO can be for everyone, but you also need to know how to do it as a podcast host or even a guest. Because some guests go on a podcast show and I type in just your name on Apple Podcasts and I can't see your show. I can't see your episode. I can't see anything because it wasn't tagged right. You had an episode, but they didn't tag your name. They didn't hyperlink your website. They didn't give you any type of credit. They didn't even connect your LinkedIn. Like nothing was socially currency filled, if that makes sense. Like you have to create social currency, even on your podcast. Have your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, your threads, whatever it is that you have there, your YouTube, your actual website for your podcast, have it on those platforms. Because when you now start distributing to other RSS feed sites, that's when you actually start to see the leverage and authority. Because people just say, oh, we're on Apple and Spotify. There are over 35, 30 to 35 plus other shows and podcast sections you can get to. I was talking to somebody that works at SiriusXM Media yesterday, and I was speaking with them about, how they handle their business and their model and everything. And very exciting, because it's like, okay, we're on Pandora because we have 5% of our audience is on Pandora. And we're like, okay, that says a lot about our satellite radio. So I got an email and then we got to talk. So just getting to get inside scoops of the industry, even if it's a 15-minute call, a 30-minute conversation, an email, we stay connected. It helps. On LinkedIn, I don't know if you guys know this for podcasters. Try this out because it works for me. You can connect your LinkedIn. Actually, let me say it this way. You can connect your RSS feed to your LinkedIn company profile in the settings section. And when you do that, LinkedIn automatically gets your RSS feed from your podcast. And then within your LinkedIn notifications, it says, hey, you have a new episode. If you have a new episode, post it into your profile. And then it posts from your hosting distribution platforms, site. So if you're on Captivate, if you're on Acast, if you're on Buzzsprout, if you're Libsyn, podcast for Spotify, Anchor, that's the other name for it. That's the name before it. They had, the change. You can have that on your feed, right? And that's how people can connect with you. If you have a newsletter, even better, right? Because you can put that newsletter on your company profile, attach it with the RSS feed, and now you're sending emails, newsletters to your subscribers on LinkedIn, who you can now funnel into your actual email subscription list that you can have first party data from. So we're not just talking about subscribe to my podcast or subscribe to me on YouTube. We're talking about subscribe to the community. Meet other people just like you that can connect, because it's not just about showing up online because you show up for the right keyword. If your conversation is not juicy, if there's no music, if there's no spice, if there's no color, like at some point someone's going to drop off. I can't be driving for an hour and not enjoy the drive. I want to enjoy my drive because I want to listen to something I can understand. So if you have music, if you have, guest, sections, if you're able to, play around with it, it's good. That's why even for us now, we help you when you get into our academy, the Podcast Growth Academy. We help you. We actually get you original music. I'm a producer. I'm a beat maker. I make beats. I've been making beats since floppy disk days, so, and I'm a drummer too. So I make original music, and we're in season 9 right now for our podcast. We just crossed over 400 episodes, and I said, it's time to change the music. So I've changed the music in the background music for our show. So in season 9 now, when you listen, you hear a different song, you hear a different sound. So it even changes the theme, it changes the mood, it changes the style of the show. Like you're actually giving color to the business, right? So that is where you start to see a lot of consistency in SEO, because when you start thinking about your Spotify wrapped at the end of the year, your Apple Music or Apple Podcast wrapped by the end of the year, you get to know what kind of music people listen to when they listen to your podcast. You know why YouTube and Spotify are getting more market share than Apple Podcasts? It's very simple. Like Apple is always going to be Apple, right? Apple wins, right? So you can't beat Apple. But when it comes to the podcast segment and why YouTube decided to create a podcast feature or a podcast arm or a vertical for podcasting, like youtube.com/podcast, is because they wanted to tap into that market share. That's why I was saying if you go to the music category on the App Store, Spotify is number 1, YouTube Music is number 2. So if you type your podcast on YouTube Music, do you see your name there? Do you see your show there? If it's there, that's a great thing because that's discovery. People can hear you for free. The big reason why, and I believe this is why also when this market share happened, that's what allowed. I'm just looking at the technical things on how they actually make their chess moves, right? Because I'm thinking, why would Apple Podcasts all of a sudden open their source file where anybody that doesn't have an Apple device can now listen to Apple Podcasts on the web, right? Because they also want to open up to more people because they have a gated community, right? So them opening it up to more people means, hey, listen to it on Apple, and that's a way for you to indirectly say buy an Apple device. So that's smart on their end, right? But they're still losing market share. Why? The common denominator between YouTube and Spotify that they're doing so well that Apple is not doing as far as podcasting because they have Apple Music and not for Apple Podcasts is that YouTube and Spotify allow you to create playlists, and Apple Podcast does not allow you to do that. So when you don't have an Apple Podcast playlist, it's hard for you to sort out the podcast that you love. You can download all your episodes, but you can't have a playlist for them. So imagine you as a podcast host, you have a YouTube show or a YouTube, you have a podcast, yes, but you have a YouTube playlist and a Spotify playlist that incorporates music that matches the style of your show, right? Think about it like a radio. Like when you listen to radio, you hear your favorite songs before you hear the guest interview. Like treat it like an actual broadcast because it's iPod plus broadcast. It's still a podcast, but broadcast is like somebody's listening to you. Like you don't know who's listening, but the quality and the experience has to match the time they're investing. So when you think about all those things, it's cool. And why for me why do I like putting music in my own show? Because when I used to work at the radio station that I told you about, and I used to also listen to radio, just listening when I was growing up. I used to love the radio broadcasters, the radio hosts that would have music or DJs, and they would actually have music bed. Like when the song is done, they'll just play the instrumental before they segue to the next slide or to the next show, to the next segment, right? I would enjoy those episodes or those shows then because there's music involved. You're driving, you feel comfortable, you can hear them talk. If it's just dry, it's cool. I enjoy it. But I think for me, because I'm a musical guy, I just love music. So I would incorporate that. Some people may just want peace and quiet. That's totally fine, right? So it's what suits your audience. It's not just what suits you, it's what suits your audience. So that's how I'm able to do it as well. So thank you so much for being here, John. We'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on how to get discovered and heard on podcasts?
Yeah, the number one thing I see, and, and and Favor brought up some great points, but I'm just going to go over my analytics for my podcast. So far to date, since 2017, there have been 2.8 million, 10,000 plus downloads from Apple products. Spotify was 88,000. There's a huge difference between first and second. And we need to look at the difference between downloads and streams. Spotify leads in streams by about 5%. They were about 25% of the market. And Apple's number two at 20. So that play really can be a game changer. And I know people that have doubled their downloads since they did the double their streams. So the number one thing I see people do that really harms them is they focus on talking about themselves and their guests too much, in particular their titles and their first paragraph of their show notes, instead of the topics that people are searching for, that people are looking for. And you can test this very easily. Go to Apple Podcasts or whatever and type in 3 words that your latest episode was about. If you don't show up, but your competitor does, there's the reason why they're cleaning your clock, because people are searching on topics. They don't search on your name, they don't search on your brand name or show, and they're not searching on your guest name. I don't care who the guest is. And a good example was someone we all know and love. She did an episode interview with Gary Vaynerchuk. And it said the first lines were Gary Vaynerchuk, they spelled his last name. Number one, we can show by search engine tools. No one knows how to spell Vaynerchuk. They know how Gary V was about twice the amount of downloads. However, the third word, journey, had 1 million searches going on, and there's like 13,000 for Gary Vaynerchuk. So don't assume that people are searching for you or your guest name. Focus more on what your episode is about, what's in it for them. So think like a consumer of your show. Think like search engines, and focus that. And then keyword density is another thing you need to focus on. But the number one thing is your titles. Starting off with stuff about you. Hi, I'm so and so in today's episode. There's a reason why you're not getting a big audience, and that's it.
I love that. No, you're totally right on that. And even saying your name on the show is so underrated because when you don't say your name on the show, it some people don't know, especially if they don't know who you are. They're probably listening to one of the many episodes you have. How they know who you are if they've heard you for the first time? They may not even know how to say your name. So it's like a way to really get people to connect with you and let them know, hey, this is who I am. One great example, is Drake. He does that. Anytime he's done with a show, he says his name. Yes, you know him, but he ends up saying, his name, and he ends the show because of those things, right? That's an example just to show you that, hey, you remember the name. That's branding, that's PR. So when you also say your name on your podcast and you know how people say it, it also helps. And I love what you said too, John, about the journey part, because when people look at the top episodes or the top things that matter the most, it's mostly the storytelling or the stories that actually drive the most impact within your episodes. Because you can talk about something so basic, but if the title is so juicy that people want to hear the conversation, then it taps into a whole different source file, for someone. So it has to create value over time when you're creating consistency and relevance. And I think for me with podcasting, because I have a musical background and also with SEO too, I just flipped the script, because I know that for websites, for you to rank on Google or to rank on search engines, period, you need to have a number of, at least a set number of pages, web pages that can rank, that are automatically indexed into algorithms, to search engines. If you have a business, you're in local listings, you just make sure you have that on page, off page technical SEO down pat. So that was that, I understood that. Then for podcasts, I was like, okay, same thing applies, because for websites, you have an XML file. That's an expandable markup language, right? That is for the bots. That's like that basic text, but that text has some type of context that allows the algorithms to know what is modified, what's not. So the XML file is expandable. That's why they call it XML. And then the HTML is the hypertext markup language. That's what we all see on Google. Anytime you click on the link, if you look at Google, right, they have so many colors, but the color they chose for you to click on is blue. They have yellow, they have red, they have, they have other colors, but they chose blue. So when you look at those little things, they go a long way. So when you look at how it's positioned on the web, I realized podcast is the same thing. For you to rank on with an RSS feed that has strong SEO, you need to have a lot of episodes, because episodes equals links, right? So episodes equals pages, right? So if I'm able to have X number of episodes, I have X number of pages, one for one, right? It's credit, one equals one. So when I have one episode, I know I have one page. I have one blog, I have one newsletter, I have one video. So all that one, if you compound that, that's a lot, right? If you think about the time you're spending per week, right, on one episode, especially how long it is. So I said, okay, if that makes sense, then I can easily use the same concept with websites for podcasts. So increase the number of pages on your website by having articles, product pages, community news, all that good stuff, corporate news for your business. And then you also have a website podcast, like a podcast for your website, or website for your podcast, however you want to put it. And you have additional pages that link back to your corporate page. So now you have two properties. You have one property, which is your business website, and then you have a second property, which is your podcast website, right? And then those two are talking to each other because you have a LinkedIn profile and you also have a LinkedIn company profile. So when you have an RSS feed linking to, you're pretty much creating a language model. If you really think about the science of it all, you're creating a language model, because what you're doing is you're taking this RSS feed to LinkedIn, the same RSS feed to Apple, the same RSS feed to Spotify, the same one to Good Pods, the same one to all these platforms, and they're all talking to each other, and they all have the same data. Your links, your referrals, your social networks, all the things that you've put in there is all packed into that one link, that feed file, right? There's something called, RSS feed validator. If you check Cast Feed Validator, you can validate your RSS feed to know whether you are having a strong, healthy RSS feed, because you also have to hit some parameters too. So those are some things to look at. Mimi, thank you for this question. How do we know what words people are searching for in the podcast space? Great question. Now, the first thing yeah, go
Question.
ahead, John. Yes, yes,
Oh,
please.
I would say write down this website. It's very easy, and I know Favor knows this one. It's moz.com. moz.com/explore. And it'll show you the keywords. So, search engines and podcast directories, really Apple, other ones, Spotify, they're search engines. And the vast majority of new episodes of podcast listeners are discovered in search engines by topic. So, check your words there. And what I normally do is I write down about 30 words that describe what the episode is about, and then I start putting them in the search engine SEO tools to see which one gets the most search. The first three words that get the highest search usually give me the first three words of the title, and make sure to repeat the title. But go to moz.com, and I think it's / explore, and you should be able to find them right there.
Thank you, John. Yes, yes. moz.com, moz.com. It's a great place to, search for that. I would also say too that if you're looking for episodes, I like to use the ABC method. I don't know if you've heard of it before. I use it on Pinterest, I use it on YouTube, I use it on Google, I use it on Bing. I even use it on U.com is an AI search engine powered by Microsoft Bing. I also use it there. So if you do the ABC method, I would say if you're looking for something, especially with topics that you like, you can create content that allows you to fit into those niches. Because if you're looking for, words people are searching for, then it's going to have to match with what you want to talk about or what you want to tell them. So what you're telling them is simply going to be a very specific topic of interest that they want a question answered. And if they're searching for that on podcast, let's say gardening, for example, or they're searching for real estate, or they're searching for food, something very open-ended, but also specific to where they're trying to go, then you can start to look at the search boxes on Google search box and type in, let's say, for example, interior design A, interior design B, interior design C, and start seeing what you get on those search results. And that will tell you too what people are actually typing. Because when you look at Google search, the box, right? Most times when you look at the box, you can see that Google usually likes to put a bold, like it kind of boldens some words sometimes. And those bold words are words that you could also look at as trigger words, right? And those are alert words. So those words allow you to know, okay, this word means this means that. So there are ways you can really, put into that, and also just do your research on how, they're receiving that information. Are they taking it well? Are they learning? Are they able to, get involved with that search bracket? And then you can start answering questions. And I think one good thing that I like to do too is this: when you get to that point that you realize the link or the topic of interest and you figure it out and you're like, okay, this is what I want to talk about, flip it into a question. And it works a lot. Flip it into a question. Does wood work with tiles? I'm just being very random right now. Like, just have that kind of question mark, that, what's that question about? So it sparks curiosity. Instead of saying, today's Wednesday, you're creating this whole anticipation all together. And within your title, you can flip it. So, okay, this is the topic they want to talk about. So let me flip it into a question. So when they listen to the episode, they're now waiting for the response to that question. So you can do it that way too and flip it in. And that's a really good way to spark interest within your panel. So those are really good. That's a question that I hope helped a lot of people in the room too. So thank you for that, Mimi. And welcome, Travis and Monty. If you click the link above, and I want to shout out to you, Dr. Sharon, because she told me about this. And I was like, I got to give you your flowers. This is a platform that I'm still building in, and I would like you to check it out and try it. Click the link above. This link is going to give you 3 sections. I'm still building it out, so don't mind me. This is the first time I'm putting it out here. But this link, they're all working. The links are all working. So you can check them out and see. The first one is, if you want to book an appointment with me, you'll see book with favor. You'll see it there. And if you look at those images, the first one, the second one I'm going to talk about shortly, those images were populated by a platform that I'm going to be talking about. There's an AI image tool that I've been using, and they just entered their 2.0 series. And you know how AI back then, you would tell it to type something and it gives you like a whole lot of other words you didn't ask for? So it's gotten smarter now, and it actually gives you exactly what you type. And it's amazing quality. So the images you see here with the book with me and the keyword research are all tagged in. So if you want to click on that, please click on that to book a call with me. Click on the purple option when you get in there, and you can get on a 15-minute call. We'll audit your website, audit your social media, and connect. And I'll also be actually on Instagram Live tomorrow, speaking of live, with a friend of mine. Her name is Marie, and I'll be going live. We'll call it OTSA, on the spot audit. And you'll be seeing a video in about an hour from now on Instagram post. We're going to post it out. So we'll be on Instagram Live tomorrow talking about this. And if you have a brand, a business, a website, we're going to audit you. She's into branding, I'm into SEO. So we're going to tag team and make sure that you can get that done. So that's the first link. Keyword research is the second one. Now, if you want to get this as well, you have to subscribe. So you put your email address there, and then you now get the link to the keyword research roadmap. I created a keyword research roadmap, which is a PDF you can download. It's going, when you get there, you have the link available, and you can download it as a copy to your files, or you can airdrop it to your phone, to your desktop or laptop, or just save the link and then have it ready for you. That way you can have access to that keyword research, and you'll see how I conduct keyword research, and I have some really cool gems in there too. Now, the difference between you getting and full transparency, this keyword research that you're going to get there, it's free, right? Because I also put it on my LinkedIn, and it's actually my top performing carousel post, because I've only done one, but I'm planning to do more. But it's my top performing post. When you look at LinkedIn, they categorize you based on like different things: posts, videos, newsletters, carousels. So on the top of the list overall is this one. So I said, you know what, let me make it even easier for you guys to go a little bit deeper into research. So instead of getting it for free just on LinkedIn, you can download it for free on LinkedIn, or you can click it here and then leave your email address, so that when I now send you emails, you'll also be getting more additional information on top of what you've received. So that's another option. And then the last one is the podcast episodes. Now, the podcast episodes, they're there. You can listen to them. If you click on them, it will take you where you need to go. There are 25 of them listed for you, so you can check that out and see what we have there for you. We have a lot of episodes coming your way. So this is just some things I wanted to just take you through that link above. So when you click on that link, it will take you to all these places. And I hope you learned something new, because this is just something we're doing for community. And I feel like if you're able to learn something new now, get discovered, get heard, submit your RSS feed to the right places at the right time, you won't have to lift a finger, because every time you hit publish on your newsletter, every time you hit publish in your email list, every time you hit publish for your podcast, you're talking to the world, and you know that the world is listening. Instead of you wondering, how do I market? How do I do marketing? It starts by that. By this time last year, I was top 10%. Now it's top 3%. God knows what's going to happen by this time next year. So just keep going. It's not a race, it's a marathon. We're not racing to the top so we can stay at the top. We're just doing this as we serve. So these are just social currencies that allow us to serve more and do more at a bigger capacity, so that more people can listen and more people can receive that. Dr. Sharon, would you like to say anything before we go? And then I'll pass it to you, John.
Was that to me or doctor?
We can go to you, John. She's probably busy.
A lot of people are not used to the new mic thing in the lower right hand corner. They think they're talking, they're still muted. That might be the situation with doctor.
No worries. We'll come back to you, Dr. Sharon. John, would you like to say anything? What would your final takeaway be for, this room, for anyone listening that just wants to get discovered or heard on a podcast?
If you want to get discovered, the one thing I would say is focus your attention. Look at it logically. You've got to get people's attention. So you've got to show up where they search, whether it be SEO or podcast directories. They're not searching on the brand name of your show because they don't know your show. They never listen to it. How would they know it? They're more than likely not searching your brand name because, well, let's be honest, I'm not Oprah Winfrey. I'm not Joe Rogan. I don't have a big name like them. So they're searching on topics. If you're not showing up on a topic searches, you're missing a huge opportunity, and your competition is. So the one thing I would say is think of it logically, whether it be SEO or podcast directory searches, which is almost the same. You've got to get their attention first. You cannot do anything until they start to consume your content. So impressions, while good, you got to have impressions to get clicks and listens. That is really not going to change the game. You got to get people to consume your content, whether it be view a video or listen to an audio podcast or whatever it might be. And from there, you've got to get them off the platform so they can connect with you, your sponsors, your advertisers, whoever it might be, become more profitable. It all starts with getting their attention. If you're not showing up based off what they're searching on and you're trying to tell them what you think is important, you're missing a huge opportunity. That's just my experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John, for that. Yes, 100%. You have to serve the people and give them what they're looking for. You know, when they're searching for something, give it to them, like say it. I think for me these days, I max out on my titles. It's something I've been doing lately, and I'm seeing even a spike in my in my downloads because I'm like, okay, you guys want more context before you click on this link. But yes, sometimes there's there's what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? It just came out of my mind right now. Like a trailer. I'll just give you the semantical version. Like a trailer, something that is very like preview style, like, okay, this is what we're looking for. This is a teaser. That's what I was looking for, a teaser. So when you start putting those words into those titles, starting off with the keywords at the beginning, then more people can start finding you. And then if you put more context to, they're like, oh, like one example is I did Reddit versus Quora, and I was like, this episode is actually sparking a lot of interest. So I did a room here on credit Reddit versus Quora, and I just didn't leave it there. I said, what's better and why? Question mark. And then I said it was a 2 hour, talk. And in there, when somebody is reading that, they've read that, then they look at the timestamp, then they're like, oh, he's not actually not joking. And then when you get in there, you get to see, oh, there's actually conversation going on. Then people listen in and they actually learn. That's how I got to know that. And somebody on LinkedIn sent me a message. I don't know the person. He just said, hey, I listened to your episode on Reddit versus Quora. I didn't even know anything about Reddit or Quora like that. It's happened many times, so I see that over and over because that LinkedIn RSS feed is there. You don't know who LinkedIn is sending that to either, as far as the feed it's going, because it's going out on the LinkedIn property domain. So be in those spaces, get more people to connect. If you want to get more insights from me, if you click in the chat, I got a listen notes interview, and there's a link there as well. John, I was actually looking at I was checking your name to see if you were there too. It would be great if you have not an episode, a podcast interview with listen notes, because they have a section that allows you to submit your questions. And I submitted mine, and I think in 24 hours, they got back to me, and I got to get a message from the founder, and I got my link published. So I put it in the chat, but I wanted to know if you know about that, because it'd be good to have your own episode too. That
Yeah, I would inquire about that. So yeah, send it to me. If I'm posing questions to them, great, because LinkedIn is a platform for me. But for having them as a guest on my show doesn't fit my format, so I'm not 100% certain. But yeah, for me, you know me, it's all about discoverability and increasing eyeballs and ears on your content, and that's the secret strategy for growth.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it from more so of like it's a text interview. I just put the link at the top. I just switched the link so you can see it. So that link, welcome Austin, Nick, and also Dr. Fashion. Welcome to the room. Good morning. When you look at the link at the top, that's a link that will take you to the interview that I did with them. And what happens, they have preset questions already. So by the time you get to the bottom, let me just be sure before I say it. Yes, by the time you get to the bottom, if you get to the very bottom of this page, you'll see where it says 430 interviews with independent podcast producers. So a lot of only 430, which is very small, right, compared to the number of podcast hosts that are there in the world right now. So if you create your interview and you click that, you can submit your interview, put your RSS feed, you can put your podcast name, put the name that you want, and then you answer those questions. And those questions are very basic, like tell us about your podcast. How did you start? How do you find time to fund it? If you do fund it, what do you gain? How does your podcast processing look like? Just like the whole meat and potatoes of it. And then that's also good because what I did, and most people just right away, but I was like, this is a great backlink opportunity for growth. So what I did is I put my LinkedIn, as I was answering the questions, I put in my URL within, because there's no section to like put your submit your links. So I said, all right, this is HTML. So I'm just gonna make sure I have the HTTPS protocol there. So when people are reading, if you want to connect with me, you'll see we don't play podcast.com hyperlinked, right? Because when they now publish the interview on their database, that just translates into a link. So you can do it like that. So that when you submit your show, when they say how can they connect with you, you can like put your show at the end with the HTTPS, and then that way you can get that backlink from listen notes automatically. John, are you there?
I am. I'm trying to find it in the computer so I can bookmark it and check it out. So yeah, look, I think this is a great idea. I'm gonna research it and see how I can get involved in that.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, please let me know if you have any, issues that you get in there. It's really good. It's really good to look at that, because even listen notes, they allow you to put in your YouTube, your Facebook, your website. It's good to have your stuff on there, because when you claim your podcast on these platforms, you're not just claiming it, you're claiming property. It's not, when they say claim, when people say claim, oh, I'm just claiming this, claiming that. No, you're actually claiming intellectual property. It's a real thing. So when you're claiming it on Pinterest business. You're claiming it on Google Search Console. You're claiming it on Bing, Microsoft Bing. You're claiming it on Yandex. You're claiming it on Yellow Pages. You're claiming it everywhere. You're claiming things. At this point, you're claiming it on Google Business Profile too, because you're claiming that I own this domain. I own this property. I own this website. I own this information. So when you own something, you want to share what you own, right? So you share it on other properties that will bring people to your property. So I think SEO is really overstretched when people think about the whole science of it. It's just simply making sure that your podcast is seen, it's remembered, someone can see it. The color, even the color of your podcast, the cover art matters, right? It matters. The cover art matters. The color matters. What you wear matters, because that's what people are going to see. And then when you use the episode cover arts to now represent something else, even better. So you start to connect with more people because you actually add more context to your show. And what I started doing, I don't know if you guys are going to do this, but I think for my show, it's very flexible. But I've started creating AI images for my episode cover arts. And that has also seen a spike, because those cover arts end up on the YouTube thumbnail. They also end up on Pandora. They end up on iHeart. They end up on Listen Notes, end up everywhere, right? And then people see those and they're like, oh, that's cool. So, for example, one of them, that was not even the name of the episode, but it said, Unlock Your Writing Potential. And most people would read Unlock Your Writing Potential, and the topic about what that topic was copywriting tone, how to write your text, how to title your text for success, right? So there's semantics in there. There's, there is all the sentimental values that you have to add in there. There's the SEO piece, right? I call that the triple S, right? I call that sentimental value, right? Semantic value, and SEO value. If you can add those three together, you always have title success rates, because you're speaking from a point of positivity, right? When people want to know how to blog easier in 2024, you're giving them a happy state of mind because they're about to learn how to save time that they've been spending, right? How to save money and get into a 7%, APY, um, resource system, right? I'm just giving you random examples. You'd be like, oh, okay, that's different. Okay, I've not seen that before. Those are things that you have to look at. So when you start seeing how you can start to build into these discovery tools, you can start ending up on these platforms. And how you will know that this is working for you, because I know all this tagging and stuff I've talked about today can be long-winded, and it can be like, oh, this is a lot of work, right? We can do that for you, right? But here's a fundamental value. How you will know that this is working for you are two things. You start noticing two things. The first thing is that within your Google Search Console dashboard, most people don't go to this section. Most people go to the performance section, they go to the index section, which is great. But the bottom left, there's a section that says links. Now, those links, that's like link building 101. When you click on those links, it's going to tell you the supporting links, the referring links, the external links, the internal links, the anchor text, right? What you say. Because in your show notes, right, when you say visit our website and then you hyperlink that and you put your website there, that exact text that you just said or phrased is going to print exactly how you said it verbatim into the links tab of that Google Search Console. So what you say matters. So instead of saying listen to the podcast on our website or visit our website, yeah, you can put the website there, but you can also brand it, right? And say visit our We Don't Play podcast website here. That's for me now. Insert your podcast here. And then you put the link in there so that when people now get it on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, the link that people are clicking on has your name on it. It's printed with the link behind it. And that link now becomes an activation link. And that's a referring link. So that link is active and that link has domain authority. And because of that domain authority, you get leverage as a business. So as a podcast starter, you might start a podcast and you don't know what's going on because you're trying to figure out, okay, what's working, what's not working. Let me fix this. Let me fix that. Fix it as you go. But just know you're going to get to a point where you really know who your audience is and you start talking to them differently and you'll notice it. You'll just notice it. Like for me, when I realized, I think in my third year, because when you're 5 now, in my third year, I realized, oh my goodness, we're actually talking to homeowners. We're talking to family members. We're talking to people who are, they're in this intellectual, they have this diploma, they have this degree, like this is the industry. I started getting that detailed with my audience. What music did they listen to? That's when you started getting Spotify Wrapped and Apple Podcast Wrapped. I started looking into those things. I'm like, oh wow, this is so cool. So our top listened to cities, San Jose, California, till date. And I'm like, why? And now I understand why. So our clients, our connections, we have clients in California, we have clients all over the world, all the way through Sweden too. And I'm just like, this is interesting because if it wasn't for podcasting, there would be no authority. Like I would be able to even say, hey, this is what I do. Yeah, I can say what I do. I can take it to my Instagram, my TikTok, but that's not going to justify my credibility. It's not going to justify my audience capacity. Now, when you start getting into things like Wikipedia, like we talked about, those are another areas of pointers that allow you to also gain that credibility as a podcast. When you start hitting those nerves, it starts to really grow for you. I'm talking to somebody right now who is doing the Wikipedia page, and I'm trying to decide whether it's going to be the podcast first or it's going to be the brand first.
Man, I can't wait to hear about that because we're exploring Wikipedia
How's
too.
that going, John?
Well, here's what I did find out: if you write your own page, you're going to get some really limited. You need someone else to do it, and there are companies that do it. And they do reasonable prices, and then you can edit, you can add stuff. So using the conversation in your room about Alex Cooper's "Call Her Daddy," I believe for me it makes more sense to do a Wikipedia page for my show because I want more people to know my show than me personally because that's what generates revenue. The other thing I would close on really quick, so check it out. Don't fall asleep on that. The other thing is I'm going to be guest on Brian Swift's radio show on WJOL this afternoon at 1:15 Eastern Time, 12:15 Central, and I think 10:15 Pacific Time. And it's called All Things Inspirational. I'm not quite 100% sure we're going to talk about, but it's great exposure because you're leveraging his audience. And a lot of people don't do that. They're podcasters. They don't reach out to radio stations. So things like Wikipedia, radio stations always need content, always need guests. If you're not reaching out to them, how are they going to know about you?
Exactly. That is so true. Because when people start searching for the name of your show, that's why it's so good to know what category your show is in. Is it in the business category, entertainment, entrepreneurship, real estate, food, travel? Because when you start getting into those websites, that's when you start seeing those activation triggers. Because now you've been building a house for so long, now you got a lighthouse. because you put it on something that people can recognize, which is like Wikipedia. So you're right on that. I'm currently working on, so I'm doing some prices. I've known someone who does it for almost 2 years now, but I've not, like, that's the thing about me. I take my time. It took me a year to start podcasting. I would be 6 years in podcasting, but it took me a year to say, do I really want to do this? And I started in 2019. So I've also spent 2 years trying to figure out, do I want to get on Wikipedia now? And I'm like, yeah, now is the time, because I even posted, I posted when we did that episode on Alex Cooper. She saw my story 3 times, because I was like, okay, the first time I did it, I was like, she's not gonna see it. And I see who's on my story, boom. And then I now actually posted, I said, look who's on my story. Thank you. And it was her birthday that day we did the episode, right? And she now saw my story again. So I was like, what? So then I was like, okay, this is crazy. So just by looking at those little things, she may have listened to it, she may have not. I don't know. I can't tell. I don't know her. You never know. But the fact that there was some type of at least an impression, when we talk about impressions, that's one impression. That one impression could last a long time. It may be an impression that may come back a year from now. Oh, yeah, I remember I saw you here and there. You never know, right? Because you've not connected with that person yet. It's not that they're not connective or connecting. It's just that the connection has not happened yet. So when I looked at her profile, I'm like, that's what got her there. Because if you look at Alex Cooper's website, callherdaddy.com, the SEO there is I don't even know where to start. It's there, but it's not really there. But what's really helping her is because she's leveraging other higher domain authorities that are plugging into her site. So if she connects her website to Google Search Console, I'm sure she does. She definitely has a team that does that. Now she has merch, she has all these things because she's connected, right? And so when you have Wikipedia saying, here's your website, here's your YouTube, here's your Facebook, here's your LinkedIn, and you're getting surged from those platforms, and then you're also on Google, you're on Bing, you're everywhere, you're also within AI overview, you'll be everywhere, because what Google is looking for is authority leverage. So if you talk about something so consistently that you have 100 episodes to show for plus, then people can start to listen to you. When you hit 100 pages on your website, on your sitemap, something starts to change. Like when you hit 100,000, 250,000, 500,000, those milestones, a lot of things happen. Things change. It's like the tides change, right? So when you do 5 episodes, 550 episodes, then 500 episodes, the thing changes. So if you're looking out for a podcast right now and you want to build, I won't say start off with Wikipedia from ground zero. You can start, you can build it, but what benefit would it be to you if you're ranking and you don't have that proof of concept? You don't have those episodes, you don't have those guests, you don't have the SEO in check, you don't have your website, you don't have an email list. Like, you don't want to build all these things and then not have a place to bucket them. If the rain is pouring and you don't have a bucket to pick it up or pick up the water or just gather the water, all the water is just going to go to the drain. So you need to get buckets so when the rain is pouring, you can put buckets so that you can actually have water. I don't know if I'm making sense. So you have to look at it from those points of view. So when you look at your podcast, don't treat every episode as a collective. Treat it as an individual. Because when people are searching online, the search engines are ranking your web page, not your website. So whatever web page talks about the context of the information that you show for, whether it's on YouTube or Reddit or LinkedIn or your website, those triggers within those categories are going to shoot up for you. When you write an article, you have tags, you have hashtags, you have alt text, you have schema, there are so many things you have to think about. It's not just an article that has a copy and paste from ChatGPT. There's so much in-depth knowledge you have to dig into that even your page structure has to look presentable to Google for Google to consider you as a top resource or referrer to their domain. That's how intricate it gets. So you have to really think about those things long term as a business too. Yeah. So this is definitely something. Mimi said, wait, we should be making our own Wikipedia page. Yes. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. So by the end of this year, God willing, I'm definitely that's the goal, for sure. I've been talking with this guy for 2 years. I talked with him earlier today, and I was also comparing prices. I was like, okay, I see, because you can't do it yourself. It's not something you just plug and play. Yeah, like John said, you have to really get someone to do it for you professionally. So I've been looking at his price. I'm like, this is really good. And I started off for the music. It wasn't even for podcast. I found him because I was trying to help an artist, because I was managing an artist, trying to help her get her Wikipedia page for her artist channel, her YouTube channel. So it was even for the music side. It wasn't even for podcasting, but I still had him as a contact. And I was like, you still do it? I was like, yeah. I was like, bet. So we connected, and he sent me an email and everything. So by the end of September, I should have a roadmap on what's going on. And then I don't even know how long it takes to process, how long it takes to show up. But when it does, you guys will hear it first here. I'll put it on, the link will be here on Clubhouse. It will happen. So, and those are things that I'm excited to even share with you all, because, it's lonely at the top. Everybody got to be at the top. We all got to share this information, see how it works. But at the same time, do it with strategy. Don't just get the shiny object and do it. There has to be some process into the makeup, so that when people are looking at it, there's something aesthetically pleasing they can see, and they can actually refer to you as the person to look up to. When you look at all these top experts, when you see their social media accounts, yeah, they have millions of subscribers, they're doing well, but also look at their Wikipedia pages, look at their knowledge panels, look at their Google pages. Those pages show dominance, because that dominance allows you to be an authority. So when your social media is connected and you have your Instagram on Google, people can follow you. If they type in, I'm looking for what, LeBron James, on Google, they'll find his website, they'll find his Instagram, they'll find his most active page. Then you click on Instagram, boom, follow. So that follow came from outside. Look at Ronaldo. You look at what he's doing, right? Cristiano Ronaldo, amazing footballer, right? And you can see what he's doing on the platforms, right? That's because, yeah, he's built that all over his social platforms. But at the same time, if you look at his Wikipedia, if you look at all the links on his Wikipedia, it's sending you back to his socials. It's sending you back to those things. So it's the same thing. It's just that the audience is different, the industry is different, the people are different, the time is different, and we are all different, right? But we're all geniuses, and we can all have a page. Like, there's so much space for everyone. So I think it's just a matter of time that we just think about the goal we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to impact, who we're trying to impact, and why. If we do these things consistently, then you'll definitely get a reason for your business to actually see more results over time. And in between time, you'll be able to learn how, things work for your business, and also things work for your show too. So I'm glad you guys were able to be here, to learn something new. And if this has helped you and you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. The link is available at the top. That's if you want to get on a call with me for 15 minutes. We can talk about your business, get you set up within 15 minutes, and then we'll have a follow-up call for another 15 and see where you are. That's if something that's you want to do, because we make sure that you take your time. You have to take your time, take about 7 days to think about it. And then from there, if you want to make that decision, we can continue from there. So it's exciting. We've been able to build so much, and the future is bright, especially for this holiday season. I'm excited about this holiday season the most out of every other season, because of the data I've been able to acquire this whole year when it comes to looking at products. Because people sell products, sell merchandise, sell all these things, but there was something I was missing, and I found it in January. So now I'm able to really practice it now towards the end of this year and see what works. Because sometimes when you're running ads or you're running content pieces, you don't know who's seeing, your content. But if you can determine who sees it or predetermine it, it's a beautiful thing. It's a very beautiful thing. So if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to me and we can talk about it. So thank you for joining. I appreciate you all. I was here yesterday. I'm going to be here again tomorrow. Tomorrow's room is going to be very interesting, because I did SEO for brands on Monday. I did SEO for local businesses yesterday. I did SEO for podcasters today. And then tomorrow, before I go live, I'm going to do it in the morning. I'm thinking I don't know yet. I'll be very honest. I don't know yet. I'm still thinking between SEO for bloggers or SEO for LinkedIn. So I don't know which one I'll pick first. I might do both Thursday and Friday, but I don't know which one's going to come first. So if you guys put in the chat, let me know which one you think would come first. Then that's what I did yesterday, and that's how this room came to be. So I don't know which one would come first, but whichever one comes first, you will see it here tomorrow, and we'll make sure we're here in the morning, bright and early, so that we can have a great time. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you all. Listen to the replay. We captured a lot of things, and I hope this helped you, and I hope you're able to learn something new as you proceed with your business. And I wish you all the best in everything that you do. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow, bright and early. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you all soon.